right now, 20% of the world's total oil supply is effectively trapped behind a geopolitical turnstile.
Guarded by a swarm of mini submarines and fast attack boats.
Exactly. It is Thursday, May 7, 2026. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Usually, when we observe the architecture of international relations and global commerce, there is an expectation of, I suppose, mechanical predictability.
Right. A commercial vessel departs a harbor, navigates a recognized international strait.
And delivers its cargo to port. The machinery of the global economy turns. But when that machinery is subjected to the sudden, immense pressure of military and diplomatic conflict, the gears do not just grind.
No, they halt entirely.
They do. Welcome to our comprehensive briefing on recent regional and national current events.
We are looking at a highly complex, rapidly developing situation today. Our objective is to provide absolute clarity without, generating unnecessary alarm.
But before we begin our analysis, we have a brief message regarding the technology that makes this briefing possible.
Yes. This deep dive is generated by Stylo News, the AI-powered news application.
And it is brought to you by our sponsor, ProWave AI, which brings us to the focus of today's Middle East brief, pressure versus peace.
Right. Can containment bring Iran to the table?
And quickly, the Stylo News app that you can use is actually the consumer version of Stylo Intel Ops.
Which is a software designed for enterprise operations across government, military, and business.
Exactly. This gives you, the listener, unique access to the exact same analytical tools designed to support global decision makers.
It does. And our mission for this deep dive is quite clear. We are here to objectively analyze intelligence estimates from, late April through early May of 2026.
The goal is to present the facts, outline the primary patterns, and examine decision-maker perspectives.
And, of course, to propose likely courses of action with absolute neutrality.
Right, avoiding bias or the generation of fear. So, to understand the current diplomatic deadlock, we must first establish the factual timeline.
The timeline of the military and economic chessboard over the past few weeks.
Yes. The broad pattern is this. The U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports was initiated on April 13th.
And Iran's retaliatory closure of the Strait of Hormuz to non-friendly vessels followed right after.
Now, you also have an internal power shift in Tehran to factor in, correct?
Yes, following the death of former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei in February 2026.
Right.
While his son, Mojtaba Khamenei, has assumed the title, it is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, that has significantly consolidated its decision-making power.
I see. So, looking at this like a locked geopolitical turnstile, I have to ask.
Go ahead.
How do a naval blockade and a strait closure practically interact in real time? I mean, does this represent a frozen conflict, or is it a slow escalation?
Well, intelligence analysts call this concept coercive endurance.
Coercive endurance.
Yes. Both sides are applying maximum friction without crossing the threshold into a major direct state-on-state war.
So they're pushing right up to the edge.
Exactly, setting a highly precarious baseline for the region.
With the board set, let's turn our objective lens to the key leaders directing these forces.
And the distinct courses of action they are pursuing.
Let's start with the U.S. and Israeli perspectives. President Trump's May 4th order deployed military escorts for vessels transiting the strait.
Right, establishing a clear military presence.
And his administration insists on addressing Iran's nuclear program up front, rather than accepting, phased ceasefires.
Which aligns with U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent predicting an oil price decline as sanctions severely strain Tehran.
Now, what about Israel's course of action?
Prime Minister Netanyahu's government has doubled its fighter jet fleet.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and they are conducting active operations against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon.
To secure their northern border, presumably.
Exactly, securing the north while monitoring the broader regional threat.
So, shifting to the Iranian perspective, how is the IRGC handling this?
The IRGV, under the new structure with Mojtaba Khamenei, has stated they refuse to surrender their nuclear and ballistic capabilities.
Framing them as national assets, I assume.
Right, and they have asserted maritime control over 2,000 kilometers of coastline.
2,000 kilometers, that is extensive.
It is. They warn the U.S. faces a choice between an impossible war or a bad deal.
I have a pointed question about that.
Okay.
Looking at historical standoffs, is the IRGC's framing of a binary choice war versus a bad deal actually accurate?
Or is there another path?
Right. Are mediators actively building alternative off-ramps right now?
Well, calmly looking at the facts, there are ongoing mediation efforts.
By whom?
Primarily by Pakistan and India.
Yeah.
But while alternative diplomatic channels exist, the hardening internal politics in Washington and Tehran severely limit their flexibility.
So the off-ramps are there, but no one is taking them yet.
Essentially, yes.
Having examined the high-level strategies, we must objectively report on how these decisions are impacting life and commerce.
Across all levels of society.
Right. The local and national impacts are stark. In northern Israel, border tensions forced the cancellation of major religious events.
Like the Lag Bomer pilgrimage at Mount Meron.
Yes. And inside Iran, the population is experiencing internet blackouts.
Internet blackouts, severe fuel shortages, and immense economic strain from the blockade.
Nationally, the IRGC's dominance has sidelined Iran's conventional military, the Artesh.
Which fundamentally alters the country's entire governance structure.
Right. Now, looking at the international impacts, there's a massive global economic development.
A very significant one. The United Arab Emirates officially exited OPEC on May 1st.
May 1. And their reasoning.
They criticized the bloc's failure to protect members amid Iranian aggression. And remember, 20% of the world's oil supply is currently at risk in the strait.
Wow. Comparing the UAE leaving OPEC, it is like removing a load-bearing pillar from an international institution.
That is a very apt comparison.
How does this economic fragmentation complicate the already tense military environment in the Gulf?
Well, it adds a layer of unpredictability. Meanwhile, China and the EU are critical of the U.S. blockade.
Advocating for de-escalation, I would imagine.
Yes. And Russia offers to mediate uranium removal, but strategically benefits from the instability distracting from the Ukraine conflict.
Right, it pulls focus. To complete our intelligence picture, we pivot from official state actions to public sentiment.
Utilizing open source intelligence to forecast what you should watch for next.
The social media data shows that in the U.S., sentiment is deeply divided.
Divided between supporting hardline pressure and advocating for diplomacy.
Exactly, and in Iran.
The state promotes nationalist rallies, while activist networks utilize hashtags like #FreeOn.
Despite heavy regime crackdowns on VPNs and Starlink access.
Right. They are remarkably resilient.
So synthesizing these intelligence estimates, what is the most likely course of action?
The data suggests that a massive, unprovoked, direct state-on-state attack remains unlikely.
Unlikely. So what are the highest probability events to watch for?
Asymmetric actions, proxy attacks via Hezbollah, cyber disruptions, or plausible, deniable naval harassment.
Against U.S. regional bases and Gulf partners.
Yes. And we must note that the Iranian regime, while under severe stress, shows no verified signs of imminent collapse.
They retain their internal security architecture. But I want to push back on that.
Go ahead.
How long can a strategy of coercive endurance theoretically last before economic pressure or a maritime miscalculation forces a fundamental shift?
Well, that is the variable we cannot perfectly quantify. It could last months, or a single miscalculation on the water could change the paradigm overnight.
Right. That concludes our objective intelligence brief on the situation. And well, with that, we'll step out from behind the classic 1960s anchor desk and drop the formal persona completely.
Yeah, it is. It's always quite a transition going from that measured objective delivery back to our normal everyday selves.
I mean, it really is. But, you know, it's vital for parsing that kind of heavy data without coloring it with our own biases.
Exactly. You just walk through this incredibly complex web of maritime law and military strategy with us.
And we want to remind you that the level of synthesis you just heard is entirely powered by Stylo News.
Yeah, if you found this breakdown valuable, you can download the Stylo News mobile or computer app.
Right, to customize your own personal intelligence-style briefs. It's so cool.
It really is an incredible tool. I mean, the system pulls from over 250 traditional news sources, plus X.
Across like 20-plus languages, right?
Yeah, translating and analyzing the data into clear insights in under 60 seconds.
Which is just wild to think about. So
yeah.
We formally invite you to subscribe to Stylo News to get your own AI-powered news on demand at www.stylonews.com.
Absolutely. And we genuinely want to thank you for taking the time to listen today.
Yeah, please feel free to request topics for future deep dives. And be sure to follow Stylo News on your favorite social media platforms.
Before we go, though, I want to leave you with one final kind of intriguing thought to mull over.
Oh, lay it on us.
So as the IRGC continues to absorb all the political, economic, and military functions of the Iranian state following this leadership transition,
right.
What happens to the future of diplomacy when a nation's military apparatus entirely becomes the state itself?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that really brings us right back to that opening image. I mean, when the gears of global commerce are jammed by geopolitical pressure and the mechanics of peace are handed over entirely to the generals.
How do you ever get the turnstile to unlock?
Exactly. Something to think about. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.